An absolutely massive OTA update has just landed in Marvel Snap, including significant nerfs to the best deck in the game and a nerf to one of the most impactful low-cost cards in the current meta. This OTA is a lot bigger than updates in the past, so there's a lot to talk about. Let's dive right in. We have to get started with what is by far the most significant change. Bounce, the archetype that has been the best performer in Snap ever since the release of Kitty Pryde, has been nerfed. Second Dinner noted that the deck had an alarming win rate of over 60% against a number of competing archetypes, and that its ability to win with a wide variety of card combinations added to its versatility. And so they've elected to go after a couple of the core offenders that all make variations of Bounce strong in an attempt to level the playing field. Kitty Pryde, arguably one of the best cards in Marvel Snap, has been nerfed. It used to be a 1/0 that gained 2+ power every time it came back to your hand, and now it's a 1/2 that gains +1 power for every time it comes back to your hand. The approach to nerfing Kitty Pryde is fascinating, because although the ceiling of the card has definitely dropped lower, the floor has been lifted, resulting in a card that is less of an easy win card when drawn in your opening hand, and less of a detriment when it's drawn later in the game. Make no mistake, Kitty Pryde is still good. Its vertical power may be reduced, but its ability to meaningfully buff the likes of Angela and Bishop still exists. That is notable, as the card may find play in different archetypes that involve those highly synergistic cards. On a side note, it's incredible to think that Kitty had to get nerfed, and that she was such an impactful card statistically, because as someone who had the chance to play with her original iteration on release day, before she had to get removed from the game, her reintroduction and modified bounce behavior was already a significant nerf, and so the original iteration would have been even more insane than what we ultimately got. Wow. While I think that Kitty Pryde is still good and will see a lot of play, the nerf to Hitmonkey on paper may be more significant. Hitmonkey used to be a 2/0 that gained +2 power for each card played on that turn. It's now been changed to a 3/2 that gains +2 power for every card played that turn. This change is very significant for Hitmonkey, as it drastically lowers his point ceiling via the bouncing and miracle style gameplay that would result in an absolutely massive point slam. His cost increase limits his turn 5 capabilities to basically include himself and Mysterio, for example, while only allowing one additional 1-drop to be played for that combo on turn 6. This genuinely impacts the power potential of Hitmonkey, who love being point slammed down with other cards. Second Dinner also noted that at 3 power, Hitmonkey's interactions with Beast are now much less fruitful, resulting in a weaker card. Another synergy that this is negatively impacting is going to be a synergy with Bast, who obviously prefers to hit cards with lower power levels. Now I know that there are a lot of Hitmonkey lovers out there who might actually hate this nerf, but let's all take a second to be honest with each other here. This was a 2-drop that was rivaling the power of some 6-drops and could be played on turn 5 and 6. If you consider the 2/5 stat line of something like a Lizard, you start to see why Hitmonkey represented a bit of a problem. Yes, it needs help to push its stats, but ultimately this was a card that simply had to get toned down, so I think that this adjustment was definitely warranted. Alright, so I don't want to brag here, but I gotta take a second to highlight the fact that I called out this Spider-Ham change on a recent episode of the Snapchat, the podcast I do with Marvel Snap legend himself, Cozy Snap. Spider-Ham has been incredibly problematic since it was introduced into the game, and it absolutely needed to be adjusted. Moving the ham from a 1-drop to a 2-drop I think makes a ton of sense. It makes it more of a committal play on turn 5, while also allowing you the energy to play Wave, which is a pretty cool combo in and of itself. It's also worth noting that its on-reveal effect, which basically showcases what card gets hit, feels like it's worth the extra energy. In my opinion, this is actually a shadow buff to Iceman as well, because Spider-Ham completely overshadowed Iceman with its massive impact and its scouting data. This is also a shadow buff to Discard, which was disproportionately impacted negatively by Spider-Ham, which would almost certainly piggy Apocalypse or MODOK. Discard is a core focus for the month of August, so this change to Spider-Ham seems very timely. So yeah, I approve of this change to Spider-Ham. I think it had to happen. The card was simply too efficient, especially in Conquest. And guys, that's it for the nerfs, but we're not done yet. As I said before, this is an absolutely massive update, so we've got a bunch of buffs too. I can't believe I'm even saying this, but Phoenix Force got buffed. That's right, a Season Pass card that is literally still the Season Pass card just got buffed. Much like my call with Spider-Ham, it was actually Cozy that I'd called a potential buff to Phoenix on the Snapchat, citing a drop to 4 energy. Damn, I gotta tell you, we were really on the ball that episode. Regardless, it's clear that our initial impressions of Phoenix, where we stated that the card felt weak and difficult to build around, rang true. But this change is notable, not only because it keeps multiple mana at 8 power, which dodges Shang-Chi, but at 4 energy, you get Sabu synergy, which opens up the card to a whole new level of potentially synergistic decks. Phoenix Force remains a card that has a very specific deck building consideration, but this buff I think does significantly improve the odds of it being meta relevant. Time will tell if it's enough to help it rise from the ashes. Would you believe that another Season Pass card is getting buffed? But this time it's last season's Season Pass card, Ghost Spider. She's being changed from a 2/3 to a 1/2, which honestly raises her capabilities quite a bit. I have to be honest, I didn't see this buff coming. I've been a Ghost Spider truther for a while now, playing her in a wide variety of decks to utilize her as a surprise movement play on turn 6. At one cost, the impact she can have as a surprise card rises immeasurably. In fact, I think she's the strongest outside of move sometimes, simply for that surprise factor. A good example of this was when I played her in an Iron Man bounce deck, where I used her to move Iron Man on turn 6 after playing him on turn 5, effectively winning a location that my opponent thought that they had certainly won themselves. This is a big buff for a great card, and I'm looking forward to experimenting with it. Alright, so I'm not sure if you're ready for this or not, but the most yoked card in Marvel Snap just got buffed. That's right, Living Tribunal goes from a 6/6 to a 6/9, which is pretty damn nice. Second dinner notes that this 3 power buff actually feels more like a 1 power buff, as Tribunal does split his power across the board. But hey, we've all lost games by 1 power, no? Honestly, I'm not sure if this buff is enough. The Living Tribunal has felt like an absolute meme since released, and it's only really felt playable in a deck or two, including Hela, which, surprise surprise, feels like a meme in and of its own. I wonder if this is enough. I suspect it's not, and perhaps a change to the manner at which it rounds the location's power might be a logical next step. For instance, if he always just simply rounds up, that's a net power increase while also allowing the knock-on effect of making him easier to play because, well, the math just gets easier. Regardless, a lot of people opened the Living Tribunal last week with the introduction of the Spotlight Cash system, so it's cool to see him get a little bit of love. The next change might be the wildest of them all. Magik, a card which once terrorized the meta, is getting an absolutely massive buff. She goes from a 5/3 to a 3/2, which still changes the location to Limbo, provided she's not played on turn 6. If she's played on turn 6, which is now once again possible, she simply just doesn't on-reveal a Limbo location. If you're wondering why this is a big deal, in the beta, you could play Magik on turn 6, effectively extending the game while forcing your opponent to expend their resources on what they felt was their last turn. It was almost like the Kang effect, where you could see what your opponent was building up to, but they were stuck with the play, and you had a deck that capitalized on turn 7 and your opponent scrambled. It was simply too powerful, and it nearly destroyed the meta. This change is excellent because it feels much more fair. Playing Magik on turn 3 when all locations have been revealed gives you a chance to use her like a location correction card, while also freeing up your turn 5 for more impactful plays. This also is fair because it gives your opponent more time to react, as the Limbo reveals happening earlier or at worst on turn 5 as it was prior. Either way, this brings Magik back into the meta, as her effect was immensely powerful. I can't wait to see what archetypes rise as a result of this buff. Oh, and one last thing, they've made a reduction to the frequency in which the Great Web shows up in games. That's a good change for an infuriating location, and overall a win for everybody. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit the like button if you'd like to support my content. I've got a super fun video for you down below where I open up 22 premium mystery variants, which cost me 16,000 gold and approximately $300 Canadian. So if you're interested in seeing some more Snap content, check it out. I'll see you there.